The movie begins with the scene of man, named Tao, who went hunting with the people of his village. After a little investigation, he ordered all his companions to be ready for the hunt, and this time their prey was a herd of wild buffaloes, which were present at a short distance from them. Then Tao slowly started advancing towards them, and all the people attacked the wild buffaloes together. But the wild buffaloes were not so easily defeated, and they also started advancing towards the men for their defense. However, at that moment, all the men threw their spears towards them together, which scared the wild buffaloes, and they started running in the opposite direction, where there was a deep pit present, and in no time, all the wild buffaloes started jumping into it one by one. Everything was going according to the plan until a wild buffalo fell into the pit. One of the buffalo, instead of jumping, started running towards a boy named Keda. It was actually Keda's first hunt, and due to lack of experience, he started running away from the buffalo out of fear. But the buffalo came from behind and hit him, causing him to fall to the ground. However, the buffalo also didn't stop after doing so once. It again turned around and started running towards Keda, and this time, it picked him up and started running straight towards the pit. Tao attacked the wild buffalo from behind, but even after getting hit by a spear in the stomach, the buffalo jumped straight into the pit. Tao and his companions immediately ran towards the pit to save Keda, but when they reached there, they saw that Keda was hanging on to a rock. However, he couldn't hold on to the rock for long, and due to slipping of their hands, he fell down. But fortunately, Keda didn't fall straight into the pit. Instead, he landed on a big rock and became unconscious there. In reality, Keda was the son of the Tao, and that's why he went down to save him. However, his companions stopped him from doing so for a while. Later that night, the Tao still believed that maybe his son could be saved, so he continued to call out to Keda. However, due to being the chief of the village, he couldn't stay there for too long because they had to reach the village with food before the snow fell. Therefore, the next morning, Tao made the decision to leave after performing a final prayer for Keda and headed down. Keda, who was lying below, had still not regained consciousness, but shortly after, a hawk spotted Keda. Upon seeing such good food in front of it, it immediately approached Keda. However, as soon as it approached Keda for food, he regained consciousness and immediately grabbed the hawk in one go and got rid of it. Seeing himself on that cliff, Keda became very nervous and started shouting for help, but soon realized there was no one there to assist him. He also feared that he might not survive so easily, so he decided to hang on and climb down. In the attempt, his foot slipped, but he managed to grab the cliff again in time. However, there was no support below, and he couldn't hang on with just his hands for long. Therefore, he risked his life by clinging to the cliff with all his might. After a while, there was heavy rain, and the gathered water below turned into a river. Keda believed that his last chance to save his life was to jump into the river without thinking. When he woke up the next morning, he found himself in a deserted place. Then his attention went to his foot, which he couldn't move. Upon removing his shoes, he saw that his foot was swollen due to the shaking of the bone. Immediately, he supported his foot with the help of 2 stones and then, first of all, brought back his dislocated bone to its place with the help of 2 stones. After that, he put wood on his shoe and used his foot for support to walk. Keda wanted to go to his companions, so he decided to go to the top of the mountain. When he reached there, he saw those stones that the Tao used for its worship. Seeing them, Keda was shattered inside, but then he heard some noise. When he looked closely, he saw a pack of wolves. As soon as Keda saw them, he started running at full speed, but he couldn't run faster than the wolves. The wolves soon got very close to him, so to escape them, he decided to climb a dry tree. In the meantime, a wolf grabbed his leg, but Keda immediately took out his knife and attacked the wolf. After that, the wolf fell to the ground, but there were still others waiting below the tree. That's why Keda decided to stay on that tree until they left. He had to spend the whole night on that tree, and the next morning when he woke up, he saw that the wolves had left, leaving behind their injured companion. First, Keda tied his knife to a stick to make a weapon for himself. Then he went to the injured wolf to kill it, but seeing it in such a wounded state melted Keda's heart, and he decided to spare the wolf's life. After that, for his own safety, he first tied the wolf's mouth with a rope and then carried it on his shoulders towards a cave. There, they spent the night somehow. The next morning, while Keda was tending to his wound by breaking some herbs, the wolf suddenly untied the rope from its mouth. Despite seeing this, Keda remained calm and tried to give water to the wolf, who was trying to scare him with its teeth, but Keda still tried to offer water calmly. Seeing Keda's behavior, the wolf also calmed down, and after that, it drank the water given by Keda. Seeing this, Keda was quite happy, and after a while, he removed the stuck insects from the wolf's wound and gave them to the wolf to eat. He knew that he needed to hunt to survive, and to fulfill this need, the next day he hunted a rabbit. When he was trying to light a fire to cook it, the wolf approached him to snatch the rabbit, but Keda knew that he would have to show himself stronger to control the wolf, so he immediately scared the wolf away and started biting the rabbit on the ground to show his strength. Seeing this, the wolf quietly sat in its place. That night, Keda ate after many days, while on the other side, the wolf quietly watched Keda. After a while, Keda also gave food to the wolf. However, he made it clear to the wolf that he needed Keda's permission to eat. After resting for a few days, Keda decided to go back home before the snowfall, but he couldn't take the wolf with him. Therefore, he asked the wolf to find its family, but the wolf was not ready to move from there. So Keda decided to leave it there and go home alone. But as soon as he stepped out, the wolf slowly started following him. After walking for a while, the wolf began to follow him more closely. After a while, Keda, annoyed, threw a stick towards the wolf to scare it away, but instead of running away in fear, the wolf picked up the stick and started running ahead of Keda. Before the wolf could understand anything, he saw something standing nearby in the thick of wild boars. As the wolf ran full speed towards them to escape the boars, Keda stood on the other side, ready to defend himself. But instead of attacking, Keda quietly watched, causing the boars to run away successfully. Seeing this, the wolf was quite disappointed because of the Keda's mistake. Now they both wouldn't get food. However, after a while, they reached a compromise, named the wolf as Alpha. In the next few days, with Alpha's help, Keda learned to hunt well, and gradually, they both began to understand each other quite well. To the extent that at night, Alpha would snuggle with Keda to keep warm, and Keda also enjoyed his company. But a few days later, when winter arrived and the entire area was covered in a white blanket of snow, Alpha and Keda were slowly advancing while hunting for themselves. But one day, due to the snow breaking beneath his feet, Keda fell straight into the water and couldn't find a way back up. Meanwhile, Alpha was also struggling to break the snow with his weight. After trying for a while, Keda finally managed to make a path with the help knife. After that, with Alpha's help, Keda somehow managed to climb up. The next day, Keda's attention was drawn to a man sitting outside a tent, and he joyfully approached. However, upon reaching the man, he saw that the man was already frozen to death. After that, he tried to find food inside the tent, but to no avail. Keda was very disappointed to see this, but he still wanted to reunite with his family under any circumstances. So, they both set out on their journey again. After a while, they encountered a snowy storm ahead of them, making things even more difficult, and Keda noticed that some hunting dogs were also following them. Using his wits, Keda started running towards a cave with Alpha. Despite the storm approaching from the front and the dogs coming from behind, they managed to reach the cave in time. Inside the cave, Keda and Alpha were ready to welcome the dogs. After waiting for a while, they understood that the dogs must have been trapped in the storm. Keda thought the danger had passed, but Alpha was still ready to attack towards the wall. And just a few seconds later, a black bear appeared in front of them, attacking Keda upon sight. But to save Keda, Alpha confronted the bear. After that, a fight ensued between them. At first, Keda was very scared, but he knew that if he didn't kill the bear, it would be impossible to save Alpha's life. So, gathering all his courage, he left an arrow towards the bear. As soon as the arrow hit, the bear fell to the ground. As soon as the bear fell, Keda shouted for Alpha, who was lying with the bear. Upon Keda's repeated calls, Alpha freed himself from the bear's grip after a while. He ran towards Keda, but due to his wounds, he fell down again. Keda knew that Alpha had saved his life several times, so he wanted to take Alpha home with him no matter what. The next morning, they both started walking back towards their destination, and after a few hours, they found a stone with a mark indicating they were now closer to Keda's village. Due to Alpha's injuries, his steps were becoming weaker, and soon he collapsed. Keda wanted Alpha to reach home somehow, but seeing Alpha's face, he understood that Alpha couldn't walk anymore. However, he wasn't one to give up easily, so he decided to carry Alpha on his shoulders and continue forward. Throughout the night and the next day, fueled by his determination, Keda crossed many mountains, finally reaching a place where he could see his village. He carried Alpha straight to the vicinity of his village, where, upon arrival, Tao was stunned to see Keda alive. Keda's mother also arrived there, having given up hope of seeing her son again. Keda was overjoyed to see his parents, but then he immediately asked his father to save Alpha at any cost. Hearing this, he fainted, and when he woke up, he realized that Alpha had given birth to many cubs, meaning Alpha was actually a female wolf who had been pregnant throughout their journey. Despite this revelation, Alpha had stayed with Keda throughout the journey, and upon learning this, Keda's love and affection for Alpha grew even stronger. With this movie concludes. I hope you have liked this movie recap. Please like, share and subscribe for more real recaps.